Welcome back to Morning Barbados. And before we go any further, I know you're probably thinking, what morning? What? Don't worry, I told you she'd be here, and she is here. Morning, guys.
Good morning to you.
How
Good
you
morning
doing?
to you. I'm doing good.
You just heard those raindrops and decided I'm
No.
Okay.
It was a windy, rainy kind of night, and we woke up in that part of the woods to absolutely no electricity.
There was no wind or rain, no, I mean. These exciting things always happen now.
Lucky you.
I would like to wake up in the night to howling winds and no electricity. Lighting candles.
It's really not that cool trying to dress at that hour, so I take no responsibility for anything you see today.
Let me look you over.
No, don't.
All right, I did volunteer in Barbados. She did. If you go out now and, people start looking at you strange, it's your fault, okay?
Yes, and I accept that.
All right, I'm just trying to help. But let's bring in our guest because he's been sitting here patiently and looking at us in one rank.
And you have a special appeal as well.
Did I have a special appeal?
Yes. Well,
I am appealing to you to do the right thing today, but we'll have a special appeal for you later on, like this Anderson. Yes, he's been sitting here wondering, did I really wake up this early for this? Let's say good morning to Mr. Martin Kato. He's a technical manager in renewable energy at Fafan and Mendes in Ghana. And he is going to be in our Money Matters segment this morning as we talk about renewable energy. Let's say good morning to him and welcome him. Good morning, Barbados. Welcome.
Morning, Barbados too.
How are you doing?
I'm good today, enjoying the comfort of the island so far.
Oh,
it's nice to be here.
It's a very comfortable island.
It is. Very relaxing, very easy going. I like it.
Right, it's the epitome of the Caribbean life. But when we come to talk about serious things, we also do. And solar energy and, renewable energy is one of the things that we in the Caribbean now have got to start looking towards or start focusing on in a more meaningful way. Your company in Ghana enters renewable energy there. What's the response in Ghana to that sort of energy?
The response is very good in Guyana. The government invests heavily in solar energy. Yeah, they provide, there's a program running now where they provide each Amerindian family with a solar system that is sufficient to power lights and small loads. So solar is very popular back home in Guyana, and we have been involved in it for about 10 to 12 years, driving the development, learning the do's and don'ts about the systems, what will work, what will not work, etc. So the prospects look good. I must say that solar has been around for a very long time. It's nothing new. The use of solar energy is quite common in calculators, watches, etc. We know that NASA employs solar for their space shuttles, their space programs. So the technology has been tried and proven. It just comes down to local or individual applications now. So that is what we're here. We've been partnering with Solar Dynamics because we're their representative, their distributor in Guyana for the past 20 years. So we're now here. We've been utilizing their expertise on the heating side, the same solar technology, utilizing the energy of the sun. So we've been utilizing their technology on the heating side, the passive energy. Now we're here to assist them in terms of developing the photovoltaic side, which is the electricity.
All right, well, I guess we have to give viewers a sort of sense of Ghana, right? Because, I was on Ghana one time and we were on a river, and this guy said, "We see that island there, that island in the river, it's bigger than Barbados."
That's correct.
And you have people far-flung and all over, and I guess for a lot of them, the power from the power companies don't get to them.
That's
so this
right.
becomes an important aspect of it.
It does, and that really underscores the need for us to use a means of renewable energy. We've found in Guyana, particularly in Guyana, that solar is the most viable option. So although there's wind energy, it's not sufficient, or in many times it's not practical. Now the government is also introducing, or they're going after developing hydropower. So that will also bring renewable energy into different uses in terms of urban areas. So yes, we're very progressive as it relates to renewable energy back home in Guyana, but also because of how the population is spread out, 90% of the population is on the coast, 10% of the population is in the hinterland area, and that is about 80,000 square miles. So it's a vast area, very spread out, and so the need for renewable energy, in our instance solar, is very applicable.
Considering all that, though, how challenging is it? I mean, you specialize in design and installation, so what are the considerations that you have to keep in mind when you think of the topography of Guyana and where some people are located? Does that come into play at all?
Just in terms of the logistics, in terms of executing the job. But as it relates to design, that is about the most critical aspect of developing any form of renewable energy. Because you have to match your generation of whatever system you're trying to implement to your needs.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful that the consumer understands that whilst my need may be X, I need to match that in terms of generating capacity. So yes, design is very critical. That is about, for us, the most important part of the whole process in terms of dealing with consumers. So we sit down and take time to go through with consumers to get them to understand. Now, in many instances, you may find that energy conservation, before you get to selecting a form of renewable energy, has to be considered. So if you conserve more energy, then it's less energy you have to generate, so it becomes more cost effective. Those are some of the things that you tend to take into consideration up front.
In Barbados, we have a few companies that are actually getting involved in utilizing the photovoltaic systems. But what about in Guyana? Because I see you also, you don't just tend to think of the householder, you're also looking industrial. So how is that taking in Guyana?
Industrial, a lot of people are very interested in it, but the cost of solar is still considerably high, solar photovoltaic. So whilst there's that interest...
Is this a startup cost you're talking about?
The startup cost. It's a lot more cost effective as it spreads over the life of the project or the system. But a lot of companies in Guyana are interested in it. Most of them who operate like the tourism industry are already utilizing solar energy. This is places where they have no access to the grid. For grid-connected systems, what is lacking is the legislation, and that is being developed by the Guyana Energy Agency at the moment. Because you can generate energy, but you still need to enter into an agreement with the power company. So the government is working on that, and once that is in place, we will see more people coming on board for the development of solar in Guyana.
I want to get back to where you said taking the needs of the consumer into consideration. And we're talking here about the Amerindians and your work with them. And you mentioned also that solar has been around, powering your calculators. So you go from that small scale to powering like big buildings and plants now. So is it feasible though for a company like yours to perhaps make a small single person unit? And we're talking like Amerindians who probably wouldn't have all the power needs of a regular household in the city. How does that work out for you in terms of economics? Is it feasible to just make or do you just have standard size that you say, this is what we make,
No, many of the systems are custom designed, and it's based on what the customer is trying to do or the consumer is trying to do. But in terms of larger systems or the size of systems, there are packages that are available for the smaller Amerindian householders. But for urban areas, people who have been utilizing systems or been requesting systems are people who want to get away from the grid. In many instances, it may not be as simple as that, but they still go after it to alleviate some of the expense coming from the grid. Those systems, we tend to advocate build as you grow kind of system or investment. So whilst it may be financially prohibitive for you to be able to afford a system upfront to cover all of your needs, you can very well have solar to augment or offset some of your expense coming from the utility company. And there have been people who are doing that. Now, there are some limitations as it relates to the systems in terms of technical capacity, but that is again related to finance. You can afford it. As I was saying, energy conservation is very critical. For example, you will save more money converting your appliances to energy efficient appliances and sizing or installing a system to match that, rather than having to design or install a system to cover your existing energy consumption. So in terms of sizing systems or designing systems, consumer protection becomes also very critical, because what you really want in an ideal situation is to have a level playing field. So whilst we will stick to a particular standard, which is following guidelines of institutions like the Florida Solar Energy Center, we want to maintain our reputation. Our company has been in business for 40 years, 40 odd years, and it's a household name. And the same goes for Solar Dynamics. So we want to make recommendations based on set standards. And for consumer protection, you really want to have a level playing field where you have everybody operating at the same standard. So the input data, if I alter the input data in my design parameters, my competitor's price can be more attractive. Yeah.
What about in terms of space? And we know Ghana has a lot of that. So
it does.
Is there any plans by maybe the government or private enterprises to clear an area and set up like a huge solar plant like they have in Spain and that sort of thing?
Because the hydro project is coming on board, which will cover most of our needs, that has not been on the table.
Maybe later.
Maybe later.
One of the other things I'm curious about for maybe later, since you are in the renewable energy field, you may know, though it's not about solar energy, Guyana has the, tons of rivers, Essequibo, the Demerara. You have Kaieteur Falls. I mean, I've seen the power in that water. Water is another means of sourcing energy. Any thoughts for future in developing that kind of energy?
Hydro, Kaieteur is a national park, so that's off limits. We will not touch that. That's our prized treasure.
But just an example of, you have water, you have lots of...
But yes, that is the hydro project being developed at Amelia Falls. It's the road, the access road to the site is currently under construction. So once that is completed, the government is very confident that they will secure the financing. And that plant will provide sufficient power to cover all of our electrical needs in the short or medium term.
Is it the challenges in Ghana, does it just present more opportunities for you, or is it just like, because I mean, we're talking about, like you said, 10% of the population over a large area. So you have to cover a whole, it's just, do you just see it as business opportunities or really tough challenges to get over?
It is business opportunity for us because we have been in the sectors, in different sectors, which covers that area also. We've been in hardware. We sell the steel chainsaws. That is our biggest business. So we're in the things like logging industry, etc.
So you're already there.
We're already there. So it's a business opportunity for us.
And what about densely populated areas like Barbados, like maybe a Bridgetown or something where you have all these houses? Is it still feasible? Because
it is. What is happening is that there's going to be a gap between where we want to be and where we are now in terms of energy needs and satisfying those needs. Many people are very impatient, and if you can justify that the system will cover its cost in 4 or 5 years, then the investment will be made by consumers. And you're seeing more and more consumers coming on board to make that kind of investment. But we are taking the position to be market leaders back home in Guyana. So we're going to develop, we're driving the development of that sector back home in Guyana by working with various government agencies, etc., so that we can enhance the growth of solar back home in Guyana.
Thank you very much, Martin Cacho, Technical Manager in Renewable Energy of Farfan Mendes in Guyana.